It's 8 p.m. and here are our top stories in under 90 seconds. More snow. There are spots in Colorado that'll get a foot of snow during this storm. Others will just get soaked by rain.
We have not adequately addressed our transportation funding in 30 years.
Democrats believe the time is now, but they face a tough job selling Republican colleagues on more spending during a pandemic.
What this bill does that we're debating today is it raises fees on Coloradans during a time where our families are struggling.
A brother's love.
We were just like basically twins, but you know, 8 years apart.
A driver takes a life and leaves the scene without saying a word. The victim's family wants you to know his life mattered.
Makes me angry because it's to not even stop, not even to look, come back and say, oh, are you okay? Or even render first aid.
Everything goes up when there's a hot market.
Rising property values mean rising property taxes for people living in Denver. The bill has some people considering a change of scenery.
According to what I've seen here, from June of 2018 to June of 2020, it went up $71,500.
And some women are finding that their time is worth more than what people are willing to pay. And as a result, they're choosing to stay home instead of returning to work.
A lot of moms who have just kind of gone, this is my reality right now, and it's not going to be our reality forever. But I think it's just, we felt like we needed to step up.
Thank you for watching Denver7 News on Local 3. I'm Jessica Porter. Will this be the last snowfall of the season? Our photographer is in Genesee tonight and they are getting plenty of snow, and boy does it look cold out there. Viewers in Longmont and Woodland Park sent us their snow video as well. Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson is tracking conditions across the state tonight. Good evening, Mike.
Hi, Jessica. Yeah, May can be a frustrating month. You think we're all done with this, and it just keeps coming in. It's great moisture, but boy, it is getting a little tedious. This is a view downtown right now where it's rain and rain up in Westminster. I'd show you the view up at Loveland Ski Area, but you can't see anything. It's completely whited out up there. So we have snow falling generally above about 6,000 feet and rain across the plains. Not much of any severe weather in terms of thunderstorm activity, but there's a winter storm warning in effect for the Front Range foothills and mountains, and a winter weather advisory down to the south, Monument Hill. Some stronger showers down to the south of us. This is good news for the southeast plains. They have not caught the moisture we've had recently here. Not so great out west. They're not seeing it where the drought is still the worst, but it's cold. 32 right now at Fort Collins and Cheyenne. We're still 40 in the Denver area. And so for tonight, snow heavy above 7,000 feet. It'll be a mix of rain and snow right down to the metro area. A good super soaker across much of the eastern plains. And fortunately, there is a nice warm up coming up later on this week.
Thank you, Mike. Pedro Gallegos, the man accused of shooting a Denver police officer in the leg with a shotgun, has been arrested. That officer remains in critical condition. The suspect's attorney claims his client isn't a threat and that past arrests did not involve violence, but we found that's not true. Gallegos has a long history of domestic violence and assault, and last year he admitted he wanted to crash his car into a police officer. Here is Denver7's Patrick Perez.
I need your guys' help, please.
The man accused of shooting a Denver police officer appeared in court Monday morning sounding remorseful.
I have every intention on complying with you guys to everything.
Police say 40-year-old Pedro Gallegos shot at officers late Saturday night in Denver's Sunnyside neighborhood. They had arrived near the corner of 42nd and Alcott after getting a call from a homeowner who had spotted Gallegos in his fenced-in patio.
And as they approached, they were suddenly fired upon by the subject who was in the patio area there.
When Gallegos fired from his sawed-off shotgun, he hit one of the officers in the leg. Medics took that officer to Denver Health in critical condition, where he remains.
He suffered significant injuries to his legs and pelvis.
Surveillance video from a nearby home captured the sounds of Gallegos firing that shotgun and an officer firing back. Police say Gallegos managed to escape the area, but officers located him about an hour later.
He was contacted near 40th Avenue and Alcott Street as he attempted to ride a bicycle out of the perimeter.
Gallegos is charged with attempted murder, possession of a weapon by a previous offender, and criminal trespassing. He also had at least 2 outstanding warrants, including one from Jefferson County in which he almost drove his truck into a deputy 3 times last year.
It's much bigger than what any of you know, and I would really like to sit down and tell you guys how deep this goes.
At his bond hearing, Gallegos tried to get out of jail, pleading for an ankle bracelet instead, but the judge didn't budge.
Not today, sir. I've already made my decision.
That decision, $100,000 cash bond.
That was Denver7's Patrick Perez reporting. The officer who was shot is a 4-year veteran with the force, according to Denver police. Officials said a fellow officer applied a tourniquet that probably saved his life. Today, we learned this identity of the 6 people murdered in Colorado Springs Saturday night. They are Mayra Perez and her husband, Melvin. Melvin's mother, Joanna Cruz, his brother, Jose Gutierrez, and Mayra's sister and brother, Sandra and Jose Ibarra. A relative told CNN they were celebrating a birthday when Sandra's boyfriend showed up and started shooting. Colorado Springs police are planning a press conference tomorrow to address the shooting. When we were there today, we saw Salvation Army officials offering counseling services to people who live near the mobile home where the shooting happened.
People need to talk about these things, people are grieving, people are hurting, people have lost family members. And so we just want to let them know that we're here to help and support them through this.
You will hear more from the Colorado Springs community coming up in our 8:30 half hour. A man was hit by a car and killed Saturday. Lakewood police don't know what kind of vehicle it was or whether the driver was speeding. They need witnesses, and the victim's family needs answers. They shared their story with Denver7's Addie Guajardo.
Gary Barnes woke up and fell asleep to the sound of traffic.
He had a gypsy soul.
For 2 years, he roamed Denver metro city streets.
He was a good human being. He would say, God loves you. Well, you want me to pray with you? Or you want me to, I'll sit with you?
His brother, Ronnie Long,
we were just like basically twins.
Says his little brother was homeless for about 4 years.
There's a lot of good people that are homeless and they need help. And my brother might have needed a little bit more help.
Help that never came. Even as Jerry took his last breath.
Shock, disbelief.
Early Saturday morning, here.
We're all sad, upset.
At the intersection of West Colfax Avenue and Oak Street.
He was killed in a hit and run.
Police say Jerry was crossing the intersection when a driver struck him.
It makes me angry because it's to not even stop, not even to look, come back and say, oh, are you okay? Or even render first aid.
It's unclear if Jerry had the right of way. Investigators believe the suspect was driving a white vehicle.
Justice for Jerry, because he didn't deserve this.
Jerry was not only a brother, but a father.
Anybody that sees this or hears this, come forward and let my brother's soul rest in peace.
Anyone with information is asked to contact the Lakewood Police Department. Addie Guajardo, Denver7.
Late today, the FDA granted emergency use authorization of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine for kids between the ages of 12 and 15 years old. That'll include about 300,000 children in Colorado. The CDC still has to give final approval. They will meet Wednesday. Pfizer claims its shot is 100% effective in 12 to 15-year-olds, but could come with common side effects like fever, aches, and chills. Sundays continue to be one of the slowest days for vaccinations in our state. 34,000 new vaccinations were reported by the state leaders yesterday. Nearly 39% of the state is fully vaccinated. A recent survey shows just how expensive COVID tests can be more than a year after the pandemic started. The Kaiser Family Foundation found that prices can vary. Some are as low as $20. Others cost more than $1,400. Researchers took their data from the largest hospitals in each state. Even if patients aren't paying hundreds out of pocket, insurance companies are, and it can lead to higher premiums for all of us. Today, we learned Colorado will get almost $4 billion in money from the federal government as part of the American Rescue Plan that passed Congress in March. The money is earmarked for pandemic-related expenses, which is pretty broad. State leaders plan to use it to stabilize the economy and invest in infrastructure like water and broadband. Colorado Democrats are trying to raise gas fees and several other fees in order to pay for transportation improvements. They have Republican support, but not much. Denver7's Megan Lopez reports.
It's the 197-page bill that promises big investments in transportation infrastructure. Senate Bill 260 would raise $5.3 billion for transportation over 11 years. It would use $1.5 billion in general fund money, and the rest would come from fees on gas, rideshare services, and more. At its first committee test Monday, more than 100 people signed up to testify either for or against it. For supporters,
everyone that uses the roads, consumers, individuals, businesses, we're all contributing a little bit more to solve big problems, and that's what Coloradans do.
While at least one Republican has supported it, most others do not.
What this bill does that we're debating today is it raises fees on Coloradans during a time where our families are struggling.
Instead, Republicans have written a 4-page amendment they say would do away with the fees while raising more money for transportation.
And it takes $2 billion of those dollars and it puts it directly into roads and bridges. Of those $2 billion, $1.5 billion go directly into projects for right now. Start, let's go, shovel ready, let's get the job done.
But stimulus funding is one-time funding. We haven't solved this issue since 1991. Now is the time for a sustainable solution.
Meanwhile, Americans for Prosperity has a different idea on how to fight the bill using a ballot initiative.
As the legislature is looking at adding fees on gasoline purchases to a certain amount, we're looking at reducing the state gas tax by the exact same amount.
Transportation funding has never been easy in the state. This bill has a lot of support, but also a lot of opposition and a long road ahead through the legislature. Megan Lopez, Denver7.
10 years that I have been working and working my way up in the industry to then just be gone. So I mean, I remember kind of getting the call and sort of falling to the floor and just being like, what does this mean for me?
The pandemic took a financial toll on women at an alarming rate. Tonight, one mom explains why she's fighting to get back into the workforce.
I've always known that I was not meant to be a stay-at-home mom.
Plus, an unwelcome bill for many people who have called Colorado home for decades.
Denver's changing. We're not particularly pleased with the incredible increase that we saw this year, and we've seen big increases in the past as well, but this year it's big.
And Mike Nelson continues to track severe weather across our state.